everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Hey, 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 my morning, afternoon stars. Ooh, hey, Robert. How you doing? Shalom to you, my dear brother. Please, everybody, like and share. I know we're moving these times around, but we've got a lot going on. A lot going on. Thank you for keeping up with me. Thank you for keeping up with me. We're going to go back to the mornings in another week or so. But I'd had to get over my little bout with pneumonia, and I thank you for being patient with me. But let's get started here. Let's get started here. We've got a lot of ground to cover, of course. In real time, we are awaiting the debate tonight. But by the time you hear this, the debate will have occurred. So we want your feedback about all of this. We're going to be talking about the issues that are most important to Americans in this election cycle. Is it Gaza? Is it inflation? Is it healthcare? Is it student loan debt? Is it police reform, voting rights? What about our international interventions, these wars in which we find ourselves? What about Ukraine? What are we going to do about Haiti? Will they ever get on the menu? And that's how we're going to start things off today. We're going to talk about Haiti and something really hateful and harmful that the vice presidential candidate on the Republican side, J.D. Vance, said. Senator J.D. Vance. Remember, he is a U.S. Senator right now. And so, at the bottom, we'll also talk about how Israel is attempting to not bully, that's childish. They're attempting to intimidate. They're threatening uh, South Africa. And Israel is going to the U.S. Congress, where they wield an enormous amount of influence. And they want the U.S. Congress to pressure South Africa to drop the genocide case, the ICJ genocide case. It's going to be very interesting. We're going to be talking about that. What about that? More and more people agree that this is, in fact, a genocide. But what do you think about that? And the Israelis have told the South Africans there will be consequences if you don't stop, if you do not back down. Wow. What will all of that mean? But right now, let us talk about, um, let us talk about Haiti. This is what the vice presidential candidate for the Republican Party said. This is what he said. And it is so alarming. In Springfield, Ohio, you have a good many migrants from Haiti who are being brought in. And that's why I told you we need to really study what's happening with immigration and with the migrants, because it's a lot more than we are being told. And the corporations and the corporate media are not telling you the truth. They're not. There's something called the Tent Program for Refugees. And as these countries of origin of these migrants are being destabilized, these countries that are rich in mineral and oil wealth, the people are being run out because the conditions in their homes are just untenable. But they're being run to the Western countries so they can come to work for little or nothing. Think about that. And it's happening all over the world. All over the world. So they are being called savages. And the U.S. presidential candidate, J.D. Vance, and other Republicans, Elon Musk among them, have been really making vicious claims, calling the Haitians cannibals. Remember, he is also the junior senator from the state in which he alleges that this is happening. And he said on Twitter, months ago, I raised the issue, I quote him, of Haitian illegal immigrants draining social services and generally causing chaos all over Springfield, Ohio. Reports now show that people have had their pets abducted and eaten by people who shouldn't be in this country. Where is our border czar? Apparently, that is a pot shot that he's taking at Vice President Kamala Harris, who will be debating former President Trump tonight. What do you think about that? They've been accused of eating ducks and geese in the city's Snyder Park. And then a photo that purportedly shows a Haitian immigrant walking down a Springfield street, Ohio, uh, carrying a dead bird. It was actually of an American and was taken in Ohio, nearly 50 miles away in Columbus. And then there's the rumor about them eating the cats. Your pets are not safe because of these Haitians who are stealing your pets. It's absolutely heinous. Um, so, what do you think about this? Where is this coming from? And hey, Robert. Hey, Mike. Everybody, like and share. Like and share. If you're on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, please like and subscribe. Please thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Want you to like the show, but I had to bring on this brilliant lawyer who's part of the Santita Jackson Show family, and I'm always glad when we are able to get her. And so she's taking time out of her busy schedule. Instead of having lunch, she's going to be with us, and she is with us. Attorney Anastasia Sanat, proud Haitian American, who is from the Haitian American Lawyers Association of Illinois. She's been their president. What is going on with these charges, Attorney Sanat?
Well, hello, Santita, and hello, Santita Stars. Thank you for having me and giving me an opportunity to address what the issue truly is. And flat out, it's racism. They are trying to spread false information, misinformation, false claims, particularly about the Haitian migrants because we're of African descent. We're Black people. And if they can divide the race of Black people and instill kind of a insidious violence against uneducated, for example, people in the United States, white, other colors, other races, and turn them against the Black people, you're not going to know the difference between a Black American and a Haitian, which is exampled by the photo that you had mentioned. The person's not even a Haitian migrant. But at the end of the day, the reason for JD Vance reiterating false claims, false things, is because he wants to incite some kind of divide. Reverend Al Sharpton was on Morning Joe, and he had mentioned that that is the key reason. And I agree with him that this has come to mainstream America. He had mentioned something like this back in July when he was on the Senate floor, and people ignored it. But now that he's the vice presidential candidate and he believes that his party might lose the election, he's trying to respread what we call false claims. There's been people from Springfield who have debunked what he has said. They have specifically sent out statements, including the Washington Post has gone on and articulated why all of this is false. But the real issue, and I've talked about this in the past, is why are the Haitian migrants here anyway? As a Black person in America, there are different sets of rules for being Black. But as a Black person in Haiti, it's not the same. And because there are things going on in that country, they're fleeing their country just to come to what they consider a safe haven. Now, Haiti, as people are aware, has been plunged into a serious humanitarian, political, and security crisis. And it all started primarily after the assassination of President Jovenel Moise in July 2021. There still hasn't been a president democratically elected. And since that time, the criminal gangs have not only strengthened their dominance in the country, but they've also taken a significant portion of the capital city, which is Port-au-Prince. They have access to the information, they have access to key infrastructures like ports and airports. This is something that people don't understand. How did the people in Haiti that don't have an army get the guns? Somebody's selling them the guns. Somebody's making money off the sale of these guns. Somebody's making money off of the chaos that's being caused in this country. But as a result of that chaos, what is occurring? What's occurring is the people that don't want to participate are fleeing for their lives. They're seeking shelter, they're seeking safe haven, they're seeking what we call asylum here in the United States. There are other countries that some Haitians have been able to get to, and some have not been able to come directly from Haiti to the United States and had to travel through other countries to get here, but that's the reason why they're here. If we changed our foreign policy, stopped interfering, not states, but other countries, but primarily the United States, because I'm an American of Haitian descent, then many of the Black people that are in Haiti, of those of African descent, would have no interest in coming to, for example, the cold place of Springfield, Ohio, from the warm tropical spaces of Haiti. So when we're thinking about what is he, JD Vance, vice presidential candidate for the Republican Party, trying to do, he's basically just trying to divide so that he can conquer.
We're talking with attorney Anastasia Snot, Haitian American Lawyers Association of Illinois. And we're going to be talking more specifically about the so-called migrant crisis in coming days, because it has been documented that at one point, twice as many Ukrainians were brought into Chicago and settled here as Venezuelans and Latinos. I mean, the fact is, Venezuelans, while they have been given some monies and some perks, uh, it's gone much further with Ukrainians. They have been given pathways to citizenship. They've been settled. They've been able to buy houses. They have also been provided scholarships to go to college. No one is talking about that. They're not a problem, but everybody else is. So let me just ask you this before I proceed with along this line of questioning about what's going on with the Haitians. Have any of them been settled in in Cuba at the Guantanamo base? Because that was a proposal at one point, that instead of allowing them to come to the United States, that they would be put basically imprisoned at the Guantanamo base encampment, the prison in Cuba. Did that
Well,
happen?
a couple of months ago, there were some Haitians that were caught on a boat at the Florida Keys. They weren't sent to Cuba, but they were returned back. They were repatriated back to Haiti. There are a number of people that are being repatriated back to Haiti. Instead of going through Port-au-Prince, they're actually going through the northern part of Haiti, which there's a airport there called Cap-Haïtien. Um, because 80% of the gang dominance is in Port-au-Prince, the capital city, the United States has started allowing more deportations of Haitians. But I do need to mention again, and this is important for people to understand, Congresswoman Sheriff McCormick, Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, and our soror already put forth a resolution, the House Resolution 1241. And that is an investment plan that they're calling the Louverture Investment Plan, in order to rebuild the economy, restabilize Haiti, and reform the political dichotomy of the entire country. Now, if the American people are truly interested in seeing that Haitian migrants specifically are not interested in remaining here in the United States, because I think Haitians in America, I think, are about 2%, mostly obviously in Florida. But if you don't want to see them, go ahead and ask your congressman to support this. Just like Ukraine got $60 billion, just like Taiwan got $40 billion, just like Israel is getting $100 billion. Haiti should get $50 billion. But theirs is for infrastructure. It's like the Marshall Plan. If you rebuild, you reform, and you restabilize that country, Haitian migrants will no longer be interested in coming here. There's 11.4 million people that are considering themselves Haitian right now. Why would they want to come to the United States and be mistreated based on the color of their skin when they could stay in a country and be anything from the janitor to the president?
We're talking with Anastasia Sanat, Haitian American Lawyers Association of Illinois. Is there a promise? Have you, as you've spoken with these congresspersons,
Mhm.
um, is there a promise that there will be no interference by our intelligence agencies? Because that is what happens over and over again. And indeed, they've been implicated in the murder of President Moise. Um, and Many of
There
our
is no
officials.
guarantee that the United States will not interfere in that way.
Well, no, no, but I'm just saying if Americans need to know that too, Attorney Sanat, because
Hmm.
if they don't know that, they don't know the full story. Because the narrative that is untrue is that Haitians are unable to govern themselves. I don't think we
Hmm.
understand the extent to which we know the interference. I mean, we literally pulled one of your presidents out, President Aristide, and took him to another country. I know
South
because
Africa. Hmm.
when we were in South Africa, we were with him, and
Hmm.
he was trying to get home. I mean, these are the things that our country that we're doing, right? And
Hmm.
so, I mean, if we're not going to, I think that the infrastructure and, of course, uh, really rebuilding what we are responsible for having dismantled is very important. That having been said, we also need to look at the fact that we have interfered. And what is at stake here? How rich a nation? How many the resources in Haiti? Because it seems like it comes down to that. Yes.
I believe so. I believe when you're thinking about product and manufacture as well as natural resources, Haiti is just abundant in these things. I think the reason why the country has been deforestation has occurred,
Hmm.
quite frankly, is because they know that if they allow the country to regrow its beauty and regrow its environment, that they would become competition.
Hmm.
Kind of like why they chose Navisau Island. United States in 1851, I believe it was, decided that they were just going to control an island that belonged to Haiti because they wanted to produce rubber. Now they don't need it. They've ruined the environment. They refuse to fix it and refuse to give it back. But those are the reasons why Haiti's economy is in such a way. When we're thinking about the House Resolution 1241, there is a component that we helped to draft, which indicates that we want to be self governing and we want to have very little interference. One of those caveats is not being able to create embargoes that would keep us from being able to do business worldwide. And I think that is one of the things that would assist the economy. Because, for example, Labadee, Haiti, they, for some reason, signed a long term lease agreement with Royal Caribbean, and Royal Caribbean controls that entire part of the Labadee. And in Labadee, you can see all of the different types of things that you would find, for example, in Jamaica on tour on a tourist vacation in Labadee. So it's not as if Haiti doesn't have an opportunity to build, for example, the tourist industry or rice or bananas or any of the things that made of the Antilles and made France such a rich country. It exists. But when you go back to the natural resources, when you go back to economic conditions, it's all been caused by the interference of all of these countries, primarily the United States.
Hmm. What what is next? What do we do now that JD Vance has brought Haiti into this election uh, as a sideshow, but really this is a main stage event because we have been talking, as you well know, for months uh, as we've been looking at Gaza, and it's important for us to look at Gaza. We've got to resolve that. We've also been arguing that hey, we need to we need to look at Haiti. We need to look at Haiti. We need to work this out as well. So what what is next? And I'm sending my love to Abraham down there in Venezuela. Oh, you're so sweet. And Robert Williams, who said that the west side of Chicago got the same treatment as Haiti. Absolutely. After it was really torn apart, torn asunder in the
Sure.
late 60s, there
Yes.
was no plan to
I think
rebuild.
I think the next steps, quite frankly, is for Black Americans to understand the importance of bringing in the Afro Latinos as well as, quite frankly, Africans and working together. because it's an indirect attack that JD Vance is having by targeting Haitians. He can't just come straight out and say immigration and Black people like former President Trump did with the Black jobs and migrants, right? He would have to indirectly attack Black people. And how does he do that? Chooses a Black country. And how does that impact Americans? Well, you can't tell the difference between me and you and I. We're all of African descent.
Mhm.
So, but the difference, quite frankly, is you have the power to vote, and these Haitian migrants do not. They're not even on a pathway to citizenship, as you had mentioned earlier. They're not having the support of housing, resources. They don't have the support of being able to get educational resources because, quite frankly, they speak a different language, and there's not enough people. Let's just choose Ohio, where JD Vance is senator. They don't even have the resources in order to give English as a second language to those kids. So you have tons of children that are out there not being able to learn, not being able to educate themselves because they were unable to participate in the system that currently exists. And the system that currently exists has not been prepared for them. They're not used to having to teach Creole, French, and also English to these students. They might have a couple of Spanish teachers around there. So that's why some of these other Afro Latinos are able to get by. But the Afro Latino community of Haiti is not able to get by. So I think the next step is really to encourage, inspire, and let, uh, or remind, I should say, Black Americans that we are you. We all came on the same boat. We just got dropped off at different times and different locations. But we basically came on the same boats. And so we need to fight together. We can't vote together as a community, then they will divide us. And if they divide us, they will conquer us.
But I think you need to deliver this also, really, especially to white America, because you're embraced by the Black community. We have our fights for sure, but the fact is, it's Black people who are bringing this up. you know, I mean, white people are bringing this up as a talking point for the election. Uh, we are very clear that when you come to America, see, we don't do tribes here.
Hmm.
We never had the space. They put us on a boat and they said, you are Black and you are the pejorative term for that. And that is the end of that. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but you've got to talk to the broader American public about what we have been doing, what the Western powers have been doing to take Haiti's resources from them.
Well,
They're
I think
still
that if we're going
doing.
to talk to the broader community, specifically white Americans as the majority, right?
Yeah.
I think that needs to be a change of our educational system. I think we've been teaching bad history for far too long. A lot of people don't know what was the impetus for the Louisiana Purchase and why we had so many different states become part of what had been considered the first republic in the Western Hemisphere. There are so many different parts of history that are important, and they all relate back to how did these Black people in Haiti impact our lives? Why did we have an international stop to slavery? Well, because they didn't want the mentality of the Haitian people coming to the United States. Why is there a whole exhibit in the National African American History Museum in Washington, D.C.? Because Haiti plays an important role not only in the development of this country, but also in the independence. Because as we know, and we've heard from other congressmen, if it wasn't for the participation of those Haitians in Savannah, Georgia, they would not have won down there. So
Mhm.
there's a number of different things that white Americans can do. But the first one, I would say, which is probably the most important, is to stop the revisionist history, teach the truth, so that we can stop having so many people be quick to want to use violence or harm. For example, the young kid in Georgia who was 14 and went into a high school and killed a teacher and a student. I think it was
Mhm.
two teachers, correct?
Two teachers, two students, one Hispanic, one
Two
Black.
teachers, two students,
Hmm.
right? As a
Yeah.
parent, what education do you think you're really giving a child if you say at 14 years old, you can't drive a car, you can't drink alcohol in the United States, but I'm going to give you an AR-15 because you have a right under the Second Amendment? That's the kind of education that needs to be changed. and that hate that was filled or bred within that child obviously revealed itself with the mass shooting of others. So when
Hmm.
we're thinking about how can the majority assist, that's the number one thing that needs to be accomplished. It needs to stop doing the revisionist history. It needs to teach the truth. It needs for people to understand the contributions, not only of Native Americans from the United States, but also from Haiti and all these other countries. How did we really get here? And I think that would help. That's one step. The other,
Absolutely.
of course, is to support the House Resolution 1241.
No, no, there's no question about that, and people need to know about that. And we're going to have you back on so that we can talk about that more extensively, because that is important. I mean, the fact is, you know, you've been championed by Black people in the United States. There's no question. I mean, because we're clear that when you get here, we're the ones who have been sounding the alarm on you being pushed back into the sea. We know the
Hmm.
difference between the light-skinned Cuban who get here, the white ones. They're welcomed here. We pull them
Hmm.
in from the ocean. We push you back out to the alligators and the sharks. And Black people are real clear on that, real clear, because that's been our experience here. And so
And I
we've got
think
a
it's
lot.
important to note what you mentioned. Why are
Mhm.
we being pushed back? We're being pushed back because the truth is, if we get on a pathway to citizenship and we are aligned with each other mentally, physically, emotionally, we're going to vote that way. And so they're afraid of increasing the Black vote. That's why they want to maintain what people have called a white supremacy type vote. That's why the Ukrainians are getting the kind of love that they're getting. Even when Nazi Germany existed, the United States didn't want all those Jewish people. You know who did? You know who offered them citizenship? Haiti. Haiti let them all in, but they didn't want to go to a Black country. So when you're thinking about how do we, as the next step, think about it. Let's increase our vote. Let's increase our voice. And the only way you can increase your voice is through your vote. So let these individuals who have been given temporary protected status and under the new, most recently announced TPS, but also those who have been here under parole, those who have come through, for example, what they call the Biden program, right? And also other people who have been waiting for years and years and years to get approval to come to the United States that have applied through the regular pathways, but now the Haitian, the embassy, the US embassy in Haiti is closed down. So let's go ahead and let's make it happen so that they can be on a pathway to citizenship so that we can all unite together in order to vote together and make our voices stronger together.
Amen to that. Well, we have a lot of work to do, because the fact is, we have to, when you come here, we have to come together, and there is a lot of learning that we have to do from one another, because we're the ones who built the country that you could come to, and we're still fighting that fight today, Anastasia Sanat, Attorney Sanat, for the contributions of people who were enslaved here, who built this country not for free but with unpaid labor. That story, that half has never been told. We've got a lot to do, and indeed, that's why we're all in this hemisphere, because we were brought here to build it. And on top of indigenous people who were exterminated, we can keep on going with that.
Hmm.
And then we got to look at the Dominican Republic, which is on the same island. Thank you very much, Robert. And and the colorism that divides you down there, and the colorism that divides Haitians. Oh, it's
That's
girl.
right. That's
We
right. I
got
mean, the
we got
colorism that divides so many of the Latin communities is unbelievable. In
girl. You go
Cuba,
to
in
Haiti.
Brazil.
Haiti, that's
Oof.
enough. At least Castro promoted intermarriage, because he agreed with Du Bois that the problem of the 20th century was the color line. But when you get to
Hmm.
Haiti, you still have that light skinned upper class who are oppressing everybody else. And it's awful. It's awful. But we've got a lot of work to do, because the game is being played with us all over the world, and time's up on that. I think. I think.
Well,
And that's
I mean,
what
when you think about the
we.
tribal groups that you had mentioned that they have in
Mhm.
Africa, all of those systems of cultural identity were intertwined, but they all, when they come here, you can't really see it because we don't know it. We don't know who the Igbo, the Yoruba, we don't know who any of those people are. We just give them a national identity, Nigerian or Senegalese or
No, no, we
Congolese
we
or
got a color, we got a color, and we were put in slavery, and that was the end of that. That's what Fiddler said in Roots to Kunta Kinte. He said, "What you don't understand, my son, is that you're an American now. This is a it's a deep, deep system, and one drop puts you with black people." And so, I mean, at the end of the day, we need to have justice for everybody. And I think,
yes.
I mean, and that's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking
But
for.
the collective, I just want to emphasize that point. The
Mhm.
collective. Remember, we had talked about Amadou Diallo from
Uh-huh.
1998. They didn't know he wasn't, quote unquote, African American, right? Even though we later found out what his history and his background was, he was still shot multiple times. He was killed. And these are the types of things that I'm talking about when it comes to what you had just mentioned, the rules of America, the black
The,
rules of
the
America,
black
that
the
one drop
black
rule,
rule, the black
the black
rules and the
rules of
black
America.
and the black tax. And if you don't know them, you don't run into your doorway. And I'm not blaming Amadou Diallo, but I remember meeting his mother in New York
Hmm.
because I lived there at the time, and I'm going to have to pivot to the next topic. She said, "I can't believe this would happen in America." I said, "Bless your heart." And I just hugged her. And in my mind, I said, "She doesn't know America. And because she doesn't understand it, her son wasn't armed when he got here." And wow, he didn't even know what to do when engaging with the police to try and increase his chances one scintilla of, li-
Hmm.
of living. He thought that he could outrun the police. And black people in America know that you can't do that.
Right. Look at what happened to Tyreek Hill,
No,
multimillionaire, on
honey,
his way to play the Miami Dolphins game.
and I
The
told
color
you,
of his skin is
your
the reason why
degree
they mistreated him that way.
is not your degree, it's your pedigree. And that
Pedigree,
there's
yeah.
that you can go on and be all that you can be. And Henry Louis Gates was blocked from his own home in Cambridge, Massachusetts. They said, "You can't own this house." So,
Right.
so,
Yes,
so
yes.
come on now.
And what did they do to Oprah in France? They wouldn't let her into a high-end boutique because they didn't believe she could afford the place and
And
she's a billionaire.
no, no, even though France, Paris is full of very wealthy Africans. The thing is, what she didn't understand was that someone of her stature, you call that store, your office calls the store, and they will open the store for you. Ah, there are a lot of little nuances and subtleties in that story. So when you go to these other places, you need to know what their rules are too.
Mhm,
Think about
mhm.
No, 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 because they shut down the store and they let you come in.
Well, I get that, but I just think that the point that I was making is it
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily matter your amount of money, your education. It still matters the exterior.
No, no,
Your what do
no,
you call that?
your color,
Your
you're
color,
black.
right?
You're black.
Yep.
That's it. That's
Hmm.
it. But look, let me bring these people up because let me tell you, you can stick and hang around with us if you want to, but I've gotten Ikwete, one of the world's foremost preeminent African specialists. I met him years ago when he was with Trans Africa, with our dearly departed Randall Robinson, thinking about him today, and thinking about Max Robinson, the first African American to helm a national newscast, ABC News. Thinking about them today, those great brothers who did so much for our people. And of course, the Trans Africa Forum. And then John Quigley, brilliant, brilliant international lawyer and legal scholar, Professor Quigley from The Ohio State University. Um, there's
I
just a
gotta
lot.
go, but thank you for
I'm
having
sitting,
me.
I love you, Attorney Anastasia Sinat, one of the most brilliant attorneys. And
Love you, Sora.
I love you
Bye
so.
bye.
Ooh, whoop to you. All right, everybody. Netanyahu. Wow. When will any of this end, everybody? When will any of this end? I just don't know. You got to help me with this, everybody. It turns out that Israel is asking the Congress to pressure South Africa to drop its case It's a case against Israel with the ICJ. And they're threatening consequences, as they put it. They're threatening consequences. What does that mean? Threatening consequences. And they're going to the US Congress, where they wield a tremendous amount of influence. To not, they're saying bully, that's too light a term. They are trying to pressure them. And they have threatened many South African officials, as you know, Professor Akwete, threatened their lives, threatened their children's lives. Um, they're playing hardball, but this is power. And South Africa has held fast because the Palestinians, and I want everyone to hear this. The Palestinian community, Yasser Arafat and the PLO stood 10 toes down with Black South Africans in their freedom struggle, as did Castro. When you leave the United States, there is solidarity all over the world for people who are seeking freedom. So when you say, what do we have in common with these people? I'll tell you what we have in common with these people: a need and a desire for freedom. And these people send their best soldiers in to fight alongside our people for their freedom. I think I'm telling the truth, Professor Akwete.
Yes, of course you are. And thank you for having me. And please allow me to just say quickly that I listened in on your conversation with Attorney Anastasi.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was so wonderful that next time you have her on, I'm going to put you on the spot. Please bring me in because she
Okay.
said a number of things I agree with, from the different groupings in Africa and tribes in Africa, which I have heard of, I know a little something about, but also our presence in the United States. Santita, I have, as you know, I have been in the United States 49 and a half years. And in all my work, I have tried to bring us, the African immigrants, together. And I'm saying, first, we have to pull ourselves. Forget about your tribe in Africa, forget about even your country, because numbers are what counts. And right now, the best estimates I've seen is that African born people in the United States, like me, we are no more than maybe 3 or 4 million. If you count our families, maybe we might touch 5. And I say we have to come together. And the very next thing we do is we reach out to African Americans and we form a solidarity with them
Mm-hmm.
because we are family. I put in the point that, in fact, I started a few years ago. Ill health forced me to curtail it with the help of Randall Robinson, that we will run a short course for every African we can find to learn the basics of African American history in the United States. And one wonderful brother from Burundi said to me, "Oh, Senior Brother Nee, why do you want us to learn African American history?" I said, "Listen, you are dropping me off. We don't have a lot of time, but there are 5 reasons. I'll give you just one. In this country, they mistreat and kill Black people. So we, the newly arriving Black people, we need to know that history so we will know where we go and how we carry ourselves."
Mm-hmm.
So as the attorney was speaking, I was just applauding her lustily but silently, and I would love when she comes on to listen in and, if possible, even join in. We need that
I would
unity.
love to. I would love to do that because that is why I welcome Professor Quigley to the show as well. Um, Reverend Jackson has spent nearly 60 years in and out of the United States, meeting people everywhere. That's why I think Attorney Janice Mathis, the General Counsel for the National Council of Negro Women, said Reverend Jackson is the first global thinking Black person I'd ever met, because you begin to see the ties between all of our struggles, even when you go to Northern Ireland. The green in our liberation flag comes from Ireland. The Irish, when they come over here, something else happens. But when you're over there, they're fighting the crown, and they're very clear. We're fighting the same system. And we need to be clear on that. Speaking of which, stay right there, Professor Quete. Let me bring in Professor quickly. because he has so much experience with the ICJ. I just have to ask you, Professor, quickly. There is many people feel all around the world, more than 800 groups and countries have come together to say Israel is guilty of genocide. And yet now Israel is going to the US Congress to pressure South Africa. Really, they said threatening them, saying that there will be consequences if they do not drop the case of genocide in the ICJ. What do you make of that?
Well, there are several things I can make of it. Am I coming through, or are you hearing me?
Yes, sir. Yes.
All
yes.
right, very good. Uh, one is that it is an acknowledgement on the Israeli side that they really control the U.S. Congress, that they can go to the U.S. Congress and make this kind of a demand, because they're not coming like any other lobbyist. They're coming to the U.S. Congress with the members of Congress knowing full well that if they don't comply, there can be political consequences, that someone will run against them in a primary when they come up the next time. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's one aspect of this. But it is quite an unusual thing for lobbying of the legislature of a foreign country. I mean, it's one thing to ask the executive to take some action, but when you go to the Congress, the legislative branch, you're really getting into the heart of the political system of a foreign country. This is not yet even talking about the merits of the thing. Of course, what they're asking the Congress to do is to continue to promote genocide. And that's the most outrageous aspect of the whole thing, because as you have just said, it is now very widely understood that what is going on in Gaza constitutes a genocide. And even if you want to dispute about genocide, it's a crime against humanity. It's multiple war crimes. I mean, it's illegal on multiple levels.
What do you make of this, of Israel telling South Africa that there will be consequences if they don't try this case? What does that mean?
Well, I think that's the threat that they will force the United States to do what they want against South Africa. So, that what they're asking the Congress to do is to disrupt trade between the United States and South Africa. So they're going for the jugular, you might say, in threatening something that would be very negative for South Africa if South Africa persists in its case against Israel in the International Court of Justice.
Well, Professor Kwete, it appears that South Africa is standing firm in the face of threats. I mean, their lives have been threatened, and yet they continue to push ahead with this case.
Mm-hmm. That definitely seems to be the situation, that South Africa is not giving in to any of this. South Africa's pleading will be due on the 28th of October. That is its main brief in the case to set out the allegations on genocide. And there's every indication that will go ahead. But that may explain the timing of this exercise in the Congress. The hope being that South Africa might decide to throw in the towel and not present its brief.
Professor Kwete.
Absolutely. I think that is exactly why this latest intervention, and it comes all the way from Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They sent a cable to their embassy in Washington and to all their consulates around the United States, telling them put pressure on the Congress and on state legislatures to tell them that they must threaten South Africa to not go through with the 28th of October session, as the professor mentioned, because that's when South Africa is expected to come in and say, okay, here are the evidence and the arguments for us saying that what's going on is genocide. And so they are thinking that if they can get South Africa to not show up on the 28th or not present the arguments and documents, then the case dies. That is precisely why they are doing this thing. And again, they sent a cable yesterday, Monday, the 9th of September. And as it so happens, Axios, the cable was leaked to Axios. So they broke the story. But I think the other side of it, though, is that South Africa is not caving. They first went to the court over a year ago. And now this push, the previous government, since South Africa took the case, they have had elections where the ANC no longer won the 50 plus 1 majority. So they have a coalition government, including the parties that supported apartheid. Some of them, they have given themselves new names and they are in the government. So when you read the actual story, they are saying that, the Israelis and their supporters are hoping that because this new government in South Africa is a coalition government, they're going to use those minority partners to weaken the government's, South African government story, and prevent them from going through. I hope they go through, because there are some cards that South Africa has and also can play. As your previous session with Attorney Anastasia pointed out, we have Black people in this country, and we have elections coming up where the Republican ticket has been saying that it's going to get more Black voters. When I read it, I take a double look, because I don't know where they think they're going to get it. But if we put the story out, what they are saying about the Haitians, how they are browbeating the South Africans. And I am not an attorney, but the thing that grabs me about it is all South Africa is saying is, we want the highest court on the globe, an international court, to take a look at what we think is happening, which is wrong. If Israel is doing nothing wrong, he should just go through with the case and show that in front of these many judges, the best judges in the world, for them to weigh the case. But to put pressure and twist arms to say, withdraw the case, what does that tell you? When people are innocent, they don't mind going to court and proving that they are innocent. In fact, the accuser has to prove their guilt. So why is South Africa being pressured to withdraw the case? If they are wrong, let the court adjudicate the case.
I only have about 5 or 6 minutes left here. Professor, quickly, you pointed out that October 28th is really like is really the date that we need to be looking toward. Robert Williams says, I hope South Africa stays the course. And Yvonne Hank says, these are facts. What do you think South Africa is going to do?
Well, I'm quite sure that it will go ahead and file on the 28th. We won't be able to see what South Africa files because it will be kept confidential by the court for the time period that it is under consideration, at least to the point that Israel is able to respond. I mean, that's the normal process. So it will be posted on the court's website that the document has been filed. So we will know on October 28th that it has been filed. But it's not only this court, the International Criminal Court, pressure is being put on the prosecutor there. He is being threatened in various ways. There's a pro-Israel bar group in the UK that's trying to bring him up on ethics charges for having instituted these proceedings against the Israeli leadership. So it's not only the International Court of Justice where we're seeing this kind of action.
Professor Quete, I've got 2 minutes.
Yes.
What should we be looking out for?
I think we should be looking out for what the South Africans say outside of the court filing. I have confidence in Professor Quigley saying that they will file something, but we will know the details. In addition to that, though, I think that these things are always also a public relations fight. So I would argue that Black people and friends of justice in the United States should let South Africa know that they have friends in the United States who vote, and that we should be saying that what they are doing is the right thing. By the way, even members of Congress, I'm reading the Axios story, and they said some members have said, well, if we put pressure on South Africa, aren't we pushing them into the hands of China and Russia? So, and then of course, there are all the African countries. So I don't think that it should only be pressure coming from those who support Israel. The rest of us should be saying South Africa is doing the right thing. They should not cave. They have friends among U.S. voters, and that we will have their back. If we keep quiet, then it's more likely that South Africa will more or less cave. But I think we should speak up because they are doing nothing wrong. All they are saying is let experienced judges take a look at the case and find what is really going on. What no one can deny is that thousands or tens of thousands of people have been killed in Gaza. Is this lawful or not? That's the crux of the matter.
And we're going to see. You know what? We moved the needle, and we really pushed and pushed and pushed to make sure that apartheid ended in South Africa. They're now in another phase of the freedom struggle, and we need to be there for them. This is not bullying. This is hardcore politics. People's lives are on the line. You will see some people, I hope this does not happen, but the way this game is played, some people will lose their lives. But to the credit of South Africans, they're willing to do that. They said, for on principle, we stand with our brothers and sisters in the West Bank and in Gaza on principle. And you have to remember, that's why I think Professor Quigley and Professor Okwete, it is important for us to know that as these men and women had to take up an armed struggle, it was the Cubans, it was the Palestinians, it was the Russians, it was the Chinese. It was a lot of people who came in and who stood side by side with them. And they were fighting the United States and Britain and France. And we need to be clear on that. And we need to keep looking out, because if you think that what's happening in Gaza is awful, and according to the Lancet study, Dr. John Quigley, 186,000 Gazans had been killed more than a month ago. They're projecting 500,000 will be dead. Professor Okwete, in the name of all that is holy, this has got to stop, and justice must prevail. The brilliant Dr. John Quigley, the Ohio State University. I can't make that mistake. And oh my goodness, did too many universities to mention. And we just love you. I met you through Trans-Africa many, many, many decades ago. I thank both of you. You're both brilliant freedom fighters. Phyllis Bennett sends her love to you both. She'll be with us tomorrow. In the meantime, the debate is coming, everybody. What's going to happen there? What are the issues that are driving this campaign? More of the Santita Jackson Show in just a few minutes. Much love, everybody. AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota.